Hello friends, a very warm welcome to Ansarkari. Now in this series of understanding concepts which are related with both theory and practice of democracy, we are first taking up the idea of what actually is democracy and the origin of democracy. So we are setting the stage for understanding democracy both as an ancient experiment and as a modern project, because that is how continuation is there. Please note the key terms. But the question arises, why do we call so many different systems democracy even when they look very different or they are not exactly the same? So in the world also, look for China or look for India or look for France or look for UK or look for USA. Every country is a democracy in their own way. Please think about this and we can discuss further. Let's first see origin of the term democracy. In the 5th century BCE, or you can say BC, that is before Christ, it was Herodotus. It is a fact. You can note it and in the answers you can quote it somewhere. Herodotus, when he went on to say, demos means people and kratos means power. People's democracy. Originally you can say the rule of the many. That means a very famous American quote which says that it is democracy is by the people, for the people, and so forth. But I have a question for you, that what if democracy was never meant to be about equality? Because today also when we speak about democracy, we do not say that it is actually supporting the poor all the way in a very ideal manner. There is a power struggle between the rich and the poor, and the rich people are having more access to the power. What do you say? Think about it and we can discuss. But there is a great emotional power in the word democracy, because it is not just a political system. So what we are saying, democracy is a political system, but it is a legitimate system. That is why it is a badge of legitimacy. Every rule, every power, from liberal democracies to totalitarian democracies. What do you mean by totalitarian democracies? Where there is centralization of power, or where you can say that there is complete control of power in one person or group or only one system, and there are many systems in society but only one system is controlling everything. That is a totalitarian way. So if every government call itself democratic, then don't you think in modern times the meaning of the word democracy is losing its meaning, or democracy's universal appeal is going on? It is not so appealing, because whether it is Pakistan, it call itself democratic. Whether it is a power in Africa, where civil wars are going in so many ways, it is also calling itself democratic. But let's see the roots, the basic point. In ancient Greece, there was birth of democratia. So Herodotus, that was we said, first used the word democratia, that is the rule of the demos, that means rule of the people. But that means whole society is participating? No, only 10 to 20% of Athenians, that means those who were inhabiting Athens city, they were only, allowed to vote. Not everybody was allowed to vote. So if we today, if example, if I ask you, we if exile corrupt leaders for 10 years, like the Athenians did, like if we say in today's time, if some leader is charged on corruption and he's also exiled for 10 years, then democracy will be becoming more stronger or it will be becoming more chaotic. What do you think? Think about it. Write two lines about it, or write a short note and we will discuss. Now let's see about India. Now in India also, in ancient times, there were roots of democracy or democratic principles in our republics. That's why we call them forgotten republics. Why we call them republic? Because there will be small ganrajya, where the rule of groups of people will be there and the power will be shared among equal people, those who will be ruling together. So for example, Vaishali. You just Google it. Vaishali is considered world's first republic. That means the decision making was not done by an individual. Decision making was done by a group of people, was a group of individuals or heads of uh, families were there, those who were discussing among each other. Now another example is of village panchayats. Village panchayats in India, which were born 1,000 years ago, they are surviving till today. So I have a question to ask. Do you think India's panchayat system is the longest living democratic institution in the history? You can always write it in your answer also. But I want to know from you, give me an example by which you can clearly say that panchayat system is the longest living democratic institution in the history. So let's think. Both Greek and Indian, they are two ancient civilizations, oceans apart. They stumbled upon the same radical idea. What is radical? That people must be ruling themselves. It is so radical. It is so charming. But is it possible? Very difficult. So do you think, was it a coincidence? Or do you think it was a universal human instinct? Universal human instinct means that it is a natural human desire that we want to rule ourselves. We want to be free. We want to have our freedom and choice. So think of global issues, one or two global issues today, which you think they are related with the idea of freedom. So democracy is a collective decision making. Yes, we agree with that. It is defined as a method of making binding decisions. Binding means once you have committed, you have to follow it. You cannot just say that, okay, I will not agree with that. So it can exist in families, it can exist in firms, it can exist in states and even global organizations. Corporates, Tata, or say for that matter, PSUs, or for that matter, there are family owned businesses like Birlas, or for example, Imami, or there are firms. So let's think, if democracy is just a method of decision making, could your classroom or your workplace or even WhatsApp group of the family or WhatsApp group of friends cannot it be also called as democratic? So it is an example that democracy exists even at the grassroots and also at a very basic level, and there are certain principles which are part of it. So what are the four dimensions of democracy? One, you have to remember collective decision making, that is binding on all. There are multiple contexts. That means not just a state, not just a country, but other groups can also follow democratic norms. It is non-normative. Non-normative means that there are efforts to be made by a person or a group or a country to make a democracy thrive. You have to make efforts. You know, it is not that just it is written on paper and automatically democracy will happen. No, it is not like that. Equality from one person, one vote, and bigger ideas, that is also part of democracy. So again, a question for you: is democracy valuable because it is fair, or democracy is valuable because it works better than the other alternatives? What do you think? Read the question two times and then we can discuss. So what are the core features of democracy? So what makes a democracy? First of all, we have to think in a smart way, and you will think of idea like sovereignty, like India is a sovereign country, regular elections, rights to the people, rule of law, pluralism, accountability. Okay, these all are the key features which make a democracy work. So free elections, 1, rule of law, 2, rights, 3, accountability, 4. These are the pillars. But are they sufficient? Are they enough? If this is there, you will say, oh my God, we have the world's best democracy. No, it is not like that. There are other things also required. If a country has elections, but there is no free speech, you are not allowed to speak, can you call it as a democracy or just is an illusion? Think of countries like Iraq, think of countries like Iran, think of countries like, in Africa, where there are elections taking place. Think of a recent example of Madagascar. Think of what happened in Nepal recently. Think of what happened last year in Bangladesh. Just Google and check out. And then we can discuss what democracy is. So let's again repeat: popular sovereignty, free elections, separation of powers, rule of law, protection of rights, pluralism, accountability. So this is just a very, very important point, as I repeat again, which are forming the core of democracy, the core pillars. But then again, I say that is it enough or something more is required? because freedom of speech is another example which must be there, but it is not directly part of it. So there is something called superficial democracy. There is something called real grassroots and people's democracy. So it is a very uh, thinking based concept. So why democracy? Why we say it is so powerful? So every regime means every power, every country, whether it is liberal, like India is a liberal and also a very thriving democracy. A socialist country like Russia, previously USSR was a socialist country. Even China itself is a socialist country but claim itself to be democracy. Even authoritarian like Pakistan, where civil government is there, but all the power remains in the hand of military. They also claim to be democratic. Everybody uses the word democracy. So, don't you think it is world's favorite political brand? Like the way we talk in terms of, chips. Like if there is a party, there must be chips. If there is Navratra, there must be chips. If there is a movie, there is chips. So, what is actually the truth? Democracy is in reality, or is it other way? So we agree democracy is an ongoing project. So think of Athens, then Vaishali, then Enlightenment period in the modern times in Europe, where old ideas were questioned and new ideas came into picture, and modern digital democracy like 21st century. So what we can say, democracy is not a finished product. It is an ongoing constant struggle. It is reinventing itself from centuries. And what is at the center? At center of it is people. Like today's time you can read in newspaper that how Election Commission of India, it tries to provide best conditions for the people to give vote and also to elect a government. Again, one more question for you. Is democracy fragile because it depends on the people, or it is strong because it can endlessly reinvent itself? Think about it. Is democracy fragile because it depends on people, or strong because it can endlessly reinvent itself? So what we can conclude, that it is not a finished product, it is a constant struggle. It requires dialogue, compromise, vigilance. Why dialogue? Because through dialogue only real issue will be discussed like Indian Parliament is doing. Why compromise? Because at times if people are not ready, for example, to take such a bold and radical step, it will not be adopted. Why vigilance? Because if people say we do not want a corrupt government, that government will be thrown away. So again I am asking the same question, is democracy fragile? क्या वो कमजोर है? Or is democracy so strong because people are trying to work in so many ways? So democracy is a method also. It is not just about states, because any system where decisions are made collectively and decisions are made equally, you can call it a kind of a democratic system. As we already said, whether it is your WhatsApp group, whether it is your college group, whether it is a society in a group, whether it is a theater, everywhere democracy can be seen. Similarly, could your classroom, or you can say, as I am giving example, could WhatsApp group, is it also democratic? So we have to see what democracy means. As I already repeated, this is just an example. So democracy is the only system where people freely chooses leaders and they later on complain about. Some certain government comes into power and people after a few years say, oh my God, what a poor government, what a poor political party. But dissatisfaction can again lead people to give another chance to other people. So democracy keeps on demanding something more. It is keeps on asking for something better every time. That is why democracy never stops. Democracy never ends. So thank you very much. Please make key points and also write answers of the question that we have raised in the discussion so that we can discuss the keywords. And the next topic we will be taking up in the next session. Wishing you all the best for your studies. Thank you very much.